गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल ऑफ यू स्टूडेंट्स। कैसे हैं आप सब स्टूडेंट्स? वी आर डूइंग चैप्टर 5, दैट इज ऑडिट ऑफ आइटम्स ऑफ फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट्स, एंड सो फॉर वी हैव डन हाउ टू वेरीफाई वेरियस आइटम्स appearing in financial statements on the asset side, mainly relating to trade receivables, cash and cash equivalents, inventories, and property, plant and equipment, intangible assets. So today we shall be taking some more items of on the asset side, and also probably on the liability side. So one item which you see on the financial statements of an entity is loans and advances, and another head is other current assets. So these both items, students, are covered in your module combinedly, loans and advances and other current assets. So we are at page 5.80 of your module. Page 5.80 of your module. Okay. Yes, students. Is it clear? Is the page visible to you? So students, loans and advances, these can be short term or these can be long term. So short term loans and advances are shown under the head current assets, whereas long term loans and advances are shown under the head non-current assets. So short term loans and advances, students, are expected to be realized within a year of the reporting date. So that is why they are classified as current assets. So if you read schedule 3, in schedule 3, various criteria in the starting are given for identifying an asset as a current assets. So you have to remember all those criteria. That is quite important for point of view of your understanding and knowledge also. So students, an asset is treated as a current asset if it is realized or if it is expected to be realized within a period of 12 months after the reporting date, or it is expected to be realized within part of its operating cycle. So if nothing is determinable about operating cycle, then it is taken as about 12 months. Then it is taken as 12 months. So obviously short term loans and advances are those loans and advances which are expected to be realized within a period of 12 months. So these are given for short term purposes. So these may be, say, advances to related parties, or these may be advances, loans and advances to non-related parties, or these may be advances given in the normal course of business. So similarly, students, long-term advances are those advances which are expected to be realized beyond a period of 12 months. And what is included in this head? Other current assets. So this is a sort of residuary head. So residuary, you understand students? Residuary means balance. जो और कहीं नहीं आ रहा, प्रॉपरली और किसी हेड के अंदर क्लासिफाइड नहीं है, तो वो बैलेंस हेड में आएगा अदर करंट एसेट्स. जैसे suppose balance lying in my ITC account, in GST ITC. So that would be reflected in other current assets, or GST refundable, that is reflected in other current assets, because it is expected to be used, or it is expected to be realized within a period of 12 months. Okay. So how to verify loans and advances and other current assets? So how do we verify, first of all, existence of such loans and advances? How to test assertion relating to existence pertaining to loans and advances? So for this, obviously, like students, in case of trade receivables, we had relied upon direct confirmation procedures. So similarly, in case of loans and advances which are appearing in the balance sheet of the company, we need to send confirmation letters. We need to obtain confirmation regarding balances outstanding with third parties. Now such parties may be related parties, or these may be non-related parties. Okay. So, but what is the essential difference between the confirmation sent in respect of trade receivables and confirmations to be sent in respect of loans and advances? One essential difference is that it is requested to the third party to also confirm the amount of interest which is to be received by the company on these loans and advances, or interest payable by those third parties, because that is also a essential component. So for establishing existence of loans and advances, direct confirmation procedures similar to those performed for account receivables should be performed, with only difference that while performing such procedures, in addition to the principal, interest receivable as per terms between the parties should also be included as part of balance to be confirmed. So when we are sending a direct confirmation, we shall also be asking the confirming party to state the amount of interest which that confirming party is required to pay on such loans and advances in accordance with the terms of loan agreement. Okay, so that is how we verify about the existence of loans and advances. Okay, so this existence assertion, this method of verifying existence assertion is applicable for both short-term advances and long-term advances. Okay, although it is not written here, but it is applicable to both short-term advance loans and long-term loans. Obviously, you need to verify existence, so this method is applicable to both the cases. And next assertion is completeness. Now, what is completeness? Completeness means that all loans and advances and other current asset balance that were supposed to have been recorded have been recognized. So this was the meaning of completeness, that all the balances appearing under that head that should have been recorded, which were required to be recorded, that should have been recorded, and nothing is left out. Nothing is left out. So how you are going to verify completeness assertion? So you would obtain a list of all advances and compare them with the balances in ledger, verify loan agreements, and see that all the loans which have been given are reflected, are included in financial statements. Okay, so these type of things. Inspect the minutes of the board of directors to confirm that all material loans were approved by the board of directors. So when you are going through the minute book, you come to know that directors had authorized granting of loan to so and so parties. So you cross check those with what is appearing in the financial statements. Okay. And verify while verifying terms of loans and agreement, also see if some security has been provided by the party for taking such a loan. Okay, what are the terms of loans and agreement, and whether all the repayments pertaining to loan are being received as per terms of agreement. If any related party loans are there, then you have to see whether they are properly authorized, and the terms of agreement are not prejudicial to the interests of the company, that the company is receiving interest, and the transactions have been carried out at arm's length price, means the transactions have been carried out in the same manner at which these would have been conducted with other third parties. So these are some of the procedures. Now, what to see about valuation assertion? That the loans and advances have been valued properly. Now, for this, obviously, you would have to see whether all the loans which are reflected in the financial statements of the company, whether these are recoverable, whether the repayments are being made on time. And what allowance for doubtful accounts has been made. So this becomes important for the point of view of valuing loans and advances. And how you would value, like students, in case of debtors, we were obtaining an aging report. Similarly, in case of loans and advances, then here we can also obtain the aging report. So students, one common point which you can remember is, so whenever valuation comes in respect of, say, trade receivables, in respect of, say, loans and advances, and even in case of trade payables, in case of creditors. So you can write obtaining an aging report. It is a common point in all these cases. Okay. So scrutinize and the analysis and identify those advances that appear doubtful. So जिसकी पेमेंट ही नहीं आ रही स्टूडेंट, और कंपनी की बुक्स में वो लोन खड़ा है, 2 साल से पेमेंट ही नहीं आ रही, 3 साल से पेमेंट नहीं आ रही, so obviously the auditor would ask questions about it, why it is outstanding, why the payment is not coming as per terms of the loan agreement, and he would definitely see whether some sort of provision has been made or not in respect of such loan and advances, as regards to as regards to doubtfulness of recovery of their principal amounts. Okay. So these are some of the procedures, students, which are to be performed by the auditor while testing existence assertion, while testing completeness assertion, and while testing valuation assertion of loans and advances. And these procedures apply to short-term advances, these procedures apply to short-term loans, and these procedures also apply to long-term loans. And what about other current assets, students? Like you can adopt normal audit procedures while verifying other current assets. Now at the beginning I had given you example of other current assets, such as, say, balance lying in ITC, balance lying on GST portal in electronic credit ledger. Okay, so this is one of the example of other current assets. Or say GST refundable. Say GST might become refundable due to a number of circumstances, like say if I am purchasing some input goods at the rate of 12%, but my final products are subject to tax at the rate of 5%, which is called as inverted duty structure. So this is called as inverted duty structure, which you might have read in your GST law classes. So this is also this is refundable. So when this is refundable, it is treated as other current assets, because it is expected to be realized within a period of 12 months. Or if I am, say, I am making more purchases, but my sales are less, then obviously my GST, input GST would be accumulated. So that would be reflected in excess GST would be reflected in my electronic credit ledger on the portal, as I would not be in a position to utilize the same because of the lower sales, because of the stocks holding with me. So these are all part of other current assets. Or say there can be certain prepaid expenses, like say prepaid rent or say prepaid insurance, or any sort of expense. Say if a company is participating in fairs and it has made advance payment for participation in a fair, but fair is to be held in next year. So this is again a sort of prepaid expense. So this is a residuary head, other current assets. Other current assets. And another example could be like some, say, incentives are receivable from the government. Okay, these belong to this year. These are receivable, but these have not been received. Okay, so because these are expected to be received, these are expected to be realized within a period of 12 months. So therefore, that's why they are classified as other current assets. So how to verify all these items? So obviously, uh, for verification, for testing assertion of say existence of completeness and valuation pertaining to these items, you have to understand nature of these items. तो आपको ये देखना पड़ेगा कि वो उस आइटम की नेचर कैसी है. जैसे आप आईटीसी बैलेंस जो क्रेडिट लेजर में है कंपनी का, वो अदर करंट एसेट्स में आ रहा है, तो वो चेक करना चाहते हैं, तो ऑब्वियसली you would see the balance lying on the portal. You would log in the portal and you will see what is the balance lying there, whether it is tallied as on that date. Okay. Or you can perform certain sort of analytical procedures also by seeing at what are the total purchases of the company, at what rate, at what GST rate these purchases are being made, and what is the rate applicable on sale of GST rate applicable on sale of products being manufactured by the company. So by performing such kind of analytical procedures, and by undertaking a sort of back calculation, you can gain a comfort. You can arrive at to see that whether the amount of these heads, amount of these balances reflected in the financial statements is correct or not. Okay. So similar is the case with say GST refundable or incentive receivables. So if some incentives are receivable, obviously you would see what is the nature of these incentives, what is the basis of accounting of these incentives in books of accounts, and um how they are expected to be realized, what are the, say, government guidelines or authorities, statutory authorities guidelines in this respect. Okay, so these kind of things. And if some, and this is also common point, if some foreign currency loans are there, then it has to be seen that reinstatement is done in accordance with AS 11. Okay. Required disclosure for loans and advances, students, and now this disclosure item is again in accordance with Schedule 3 requirements. So Schedule 3 Division 1 states that following type of disclosures are necessary in the balance sheet of the company in respect of two things. Number one, long-term advances, and number two, short-term loans and advances. So both these are more or less similar. सो बोथ ऑफ दीज आर, अगर आप स्टूडेंट्स एक के पॉइंट याद कर लेंगे तो इसमें एक को छोड़ के बाकी सारे पॉइंट सिमिलर है. सो ऐसा आपको जब आप शेड्यूल 3 रिमेंबर कर रहे हैं तो ऐसा आपको बहुत जगह मिलेगा स्टूडेंट्स. एट मेनी प्लेसेस यू वुड फाइंड that points are similar and you get a pattern, you would get a pattern to see, and it would become easy for you to remember such things, to establish such things in your mind. So long term loans and advances shall be classified as capital advances, so which are of capital in nature. Loans and advances to related parties and others loans and advances. So loans and advances to related parties, ये भी स्टूडेंट्स आपको कॉमन पॉइंट है. रिलेटेड पार्टी के बारे में कोई भी ट्रांजैक्शन होगी, सो दिस हैज टू बी डिस्क्लोज्ड सेपरेटली. तो ये तो आप कभी भूल भी जाएं या एग्जाम में आपको कुछ और समझ में ना आए तो ये तो आप लिख ही सकते हैं. This you can write, this would always be there. Okay. So the above, so three type of classifications are there for long-term loans and advances. Capital advances, loans and advances to related parties, and loans and advances to others. Now the above loans and advances shall be further classified as these things. Now, as secured, considered good, unsecured, considered good, and doubtful. So स्टूडेंट्स कुछ फैमिलियर लगा आपको? ये बातें हमने कहाँ पढ़ी थी? ये बातें हमने ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स में भी पढ़ी थी. याद है स्टूडेंट्स आपको? सो बोथ आर एसेट आइटम्स. Loans and advances, short-term loans and advances, and trade receivables both fall under the head of current assets. Similarly, long-term advances are also part of non-current assets. But these are also assets and these are recoverable. So requirements of all these heads are more or less similar. Okay. So allowance for bad and doubtful debts, this was also there in trade receivables. So again similar requirement. So स्टूडेंट्स ऐसा लगता है कि शेड्यूल 3 को याद करना मुश्किल है, लेकिन अगर आप इसको थोड़ा सा गो थ्रू होंगे, इसमें एक दो दिन लगाएंगे तो आपके माइंड में पैटर्न्स ऑटोमेटिकली एस्टेब्लिश हो जाएंगे और आपको पता चल जाएगा कि किस चीज को कहां से कोरिलेट करना है. लेकिन उसके लिए आपको थोड़ा सा अपना एफर्ट और टाइम डिवोट करना पड़ेगा. So loans and advances due by directors or other officers of the company or any of them either severally or jointly. What is the meaning of severally, students? Severally means individually. So ऐसा भी होता है स्टूडेंट्स की कंपनी ने कुछ कभी लोन दे दिया अपने डायरेक्टर को, after complying with the conditions in this regard as stipulated in Companies Act 2013. तो डायरेक्टर को लोन दे दिया या कंपनी के किसी और ऑफिसर को लोन दे दिया या किसी की मैनेजरियल पर्सन को लोन दे दिया, जैसे इस जो KMP है कंपनी के, उसको किसी को लोन दे दिया, सो जो भी लोन कंपनी दे रही है डायरेक्टर या अदर ऑफिसर्स ऑफ द कंपनी को, सो दैट इज ऑल्सो टू बी डिस्क्लोज्ड सेपरेटली। ओके, चाहे वो उसको इंडिविजुअली दिया है या किसी के साथ मिला के दिया है। Yes, all queries are reaching students. We will take up the queries after we finish the topic. Yes, Abhijit, we are getting your queries. So queries are taken after finishing of the topic or at the end of the session. So short-term loans and advances. So this was requirement about long-term loans and advances, and now short-term loans and advances. These are also classified on similar lines, like loans and advances to related parties and others. तो इसमें क्या मिसिंग है स्टूडेंट्स? अगर आप ध्यान से देखें तो इसमें कैपिटल एडवांसेस नहीं है, इसमें कैपिटल एडवांसेस नहीं है। So this is the difference between classification of long-term advances and short-term loans and advances. So the above shall also be sub-classified as, again, same requirements: secured considered good, unsecured considered good, doubtful. So allowance for bad and doubtful loans and advances shall be disclosed under the relevant heads. Again, similar requirement. And loans and advances due by directors or other officers of the company or any of them, either severally or jointly with any other person. Similarly, amounts due by firms or private companies in which any director is a partner or director और ए मेंबर। सो अगर कंपनी ने किसी और कंपनी को लोन दे दिया है जिसमें कि डायरेक्टर से जो कंपनी का डायरेक्टर है वो उसमें डायरेक्टर है या वो उसमें मेंबर है, या किसी फर्म को लोन दे दिया है जिसमें कि वो जो कंपनी का डायरेक्टर है वो पार्टनर है, तो वो भी सेपरेट डिस्क्लोजर उसका रिक्वायर्ड है। सेपरेट डिस्क्लोजर इज रिक्वायर्ड। तो क्लियर स्टूडेंट्स, फेयरली सिंपल, ये उसी तरह से है मोर और लेस जो आपने ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स में पढ़ा था। तो अगर आपने ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स अच्छी तरह से कर लिया तो आपका उसके साथ लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस भी हो जाएगा, और लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस की डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट भी सिमिलर है ट्रेड रिसीवेबल के साथ, एक दो पॉइंट को छोड़ के। आपका लॉन्ग टर्म लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस भी हो जाएगा, आपका शॉर्ट टर्म लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस भी हो जाएगा, और कुछ एक्सटेंट तक मैं कहूंगा कि इसमें आपका ट्रेड पेबल्स भी हो जाएगा, क्योंकि इसके बाद हम ट्रेड पेबल्स करेंगे, उसकी भी ऐसी ही सिमिलर रिक्वायरमेंट्स हैं। ओके, टू डिस्क्लोज एज एडिशनल रेगुलेटरी इंफॉर्मेशन। नाउ इसके अलावा स्टूडेंट्स कुछ शेड्यूल 3 कुछ एडिशनल इंफॉर्मेशन डिस्क्लोज करने के बारे में कह रहा है फॉर लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस। वो कैसी इंफॉर्मेशन है? एडिशनल रेगुलेटरी इंफॉर्मेशन मींस सम इंफॉर्मेशन विच इज रिक्वायर्ड अंडर लॉ, विच इज रिक्वायर्ड by virtue of regulations. Okay, so following disclosures shall be made when loans are or advances in the nature of loans are granted to promoters, directors, KMPs and other related parties. So when the loans are granted to promoters, directors KMPs and other related parties. Yes, students, you understand KMPs? Yes, you have read about it in your company law classes. What is a KMP? Key managerial person. Yes, anybody, students? So simultaneously, we are also touching your company law points. Yes, what is KMP? Yes, remember, students, you remember the meaning of key managerial person under Companies Act. Key managerial person. Yes, where it is defined? Yes, these are Abhijit, you are writing correctly, key managerial person, but who is a key managerial person? Yes, yes, many of you are writing correctly. Like CEO of the company, CFO of the company, Chief Executive Officer, Chief Financial Officer, company secretary, whole-time director, managing director. These are all examples of key managerial persons. Okay. So this is defined in section 2. This is defined in section 2 of Companies Act. So following disclosures shall be made where loans or advances in the nature of loans are granted to the promoters, to the persons who have promoted the company, directors, KMPs, and the related parties as defined in Companies Act, either severally or jointly. So either individually, severally means individually. So either individually or jointly with any other person that are repayable on demand. So if some loan is given which is repayable on demand, what does it mean, students? What does it mean, repayable on demand? So we have also with us Devarajji, who is saying that he is from Grameen Bank. So Devarajji, can you tell what is the meaning of loans repayable on demand? Yes. Yes. Devarajji, you are saying that you are chairman of bank. Okay. That's great, Devarajji. So he is from Grameen Bank, chairman of Grameen Bank. So these are repayable on. So if there are some loans which are repayable on demand, it means that there are that the company can call back the loan at any time. That these do not have any fixed terms of payment. So whenever we demand the repayment, uh, it has to be made by the party to whom the loan has been given. Okay. So if such loan has been granted that which are repayable on demand or without specifying any terms or period of repayment. So when no terms of repayment are specified, these in fact mean that these are repayable on demand. So such type of disclosure is to be given in respect of such loans and advances. So amount of loan or advance in the nature of loan outstanding and percentage to the total loan and advances in the nature of loans. कि promoters को कितना लोन दिया है, say 5 crore, डायरेक्टर्स को से 1 करोड़, से केएमपीज को 1 करोड़, से रिलेटेड पार्टीज को 0। तो टोटल जो लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस हैं, अगर टोटल लोन्स एंड एडवांसेस 15 सीआर के हैं तो उसकी परसेंटेज क्या है? ओके, 33%। सो एंड सो ऑन। So this kind of disclosure, additional disclosure is also required in respect of loans and advances when these are given to promoters, to directors, to key managerial persons, and to related parties. Okay, so guys, is the same clear to you? Now we move on to our next topic, next subtopic, that is trade payables and other current liabilities. Trade payables and other current liabilities. So this is a liability side item, students. So trade payables are generally reflected in current liabilities because they are expected to be paid within the company's operating cycle or within a period of 12 months. Okay, so yeah, I think you are very much familiar with the meaning of trade payables. They normally arise when the company purchases goods or it uses services of somebody. Okay, so obviously when you have to pay something in respect of goods received or in respect of services availed, a creditor, a trade creditor or a trade payable would be created in your books. It would arise in your books. So how to verify these trade payables? How to verify these trade payables? So we shall be testing. So trade payable is also an account balance. Now go back to the basics of assertion. Trade balance is again an account balance. So we have to test all the 4 assertions pertaining to account balances. What are those assertions? Those assertions are existence, again existence, completeness, rights and obligations, and valuation and allocation. So students, as I have been telling you that similar procedures in respect of trade, what we had studied in trade receivables also apply in case of trade payables. So what are those similar procedures? Again, sending direct confirmations. So like we send confirmation requests to the trade receivables. Similarly, we send requests to the trade payables. So what it is going to prove? It would prove that the trade payables are in fact in existence, that these are not fake. Okay. So an important audit activity is to conduct vendors confirmation directly independently and ask them to confirm the amount of the accounts payable as at the end of the reporting period under audit. So this should be done for all significant account payable balances as at the period end and from the parties from whom material purchases have been made during the period under audit, even if the end period balance is not significant. So same requirement as in case of trade receivables. This would this would help in verifying, in establishing existence of these trade payables, sorry, at the first place. So these kind of procedures help the auditor to verify about the existence assertion of trade payables. So obviously, students, when the auditor sends confirmation letter to a creditor, to a trade payable, he gets comfort not only about the balance, about the existence of the creditor, but he also gets comfort about the occurrence of the purchase transactions. Simultaneously, he is also getting confirmation that this balance has been created out of the genuine purchase transactions. Okay. So all similar similar requirements. So I am not repeating it here. What we had studied in case of trade receivables. सो अगर आपको ट्रेड रिसीवेबल्स का आपने अच्छी तरह कर लिए तो सिर्फ रिसीवेबल की जगह पेबल करना है बस, और कुछ नहीं है, बाकी सब कुछ सेम है. ओके. So in case students, if you do not get a reply from the confirming party, then the auditor should perform additional testing regarding the balances. Now, how he can perform additional testing? Say the auditor gets no response from a major trade creditor, from a major trade payable to whom he had sent confirmation request. Now, the auditor has to perform alternative audit procedures to see whether this trade receivable is whether the amount represented under this trade receivable is proper or not. So how he can do that? He can perform alternative audit procedures like testing of subsequent payments. कि अगले साल में क्या उसको पेमेंट हुई है. तो अगर अगले साल में उसको पेमेंट हुई है, इट मीन्स कि वो जो अमाउंट कंपनी की बुक्स में स्टैंड कर रहा है, किसी वजह से हो सकता है कि उसको कंफर्मेशन ना आई हो, लेकिन वो अमाउंट जेन्युइन है क्योंकि अगले साल बैंक अकाउंट के थ्रू पेमेंट हुई है. ओके. Preparing a detailed analysis of the balance, ensuring it consists of identifiable transaction and confirming that these purchase transactions are actually occurred. So आपको क्योंकि confirmation request का response नहीं आया, तो आप detailed procedures लगाएंगे. You would undertake detailed checking when response to your confirmation has not been received. So obviously you would try to verify that all purchases which are reflected under this this trade payable, this trade creditor, out of which this trade creditor balance has been generated, it consists of transactions, it consists of those purchases which have in fact taken place. So obviously you would try to trace those purchase transaction from the beginning till the end. Okay, you would try to see that how the order for these transactions was placed at the first place, and whether the goods were received in the company. So whether there is any documentary evidence which proves that goods were in fact received by the company, and whether these were entered in stock records, whether these entries are reflected in stock records. So this is known as examination in depth. So this is known as examination in depth. So examination in depth means tracing a transaction from beginning till end. So what is examination in depth? It is tracing a transaction from beginning till end. Like from its very source, from how it originated till it is recorded. उसकी पूरा उसका ट्रेल जो है आपको समझ में आनी चाहिए. एंड क्योंकि आपका रिस्पॉन्स नहीं आया उस पार्टी का, देयरफॉर यू वांट more confirmation. So obviously if you do not get a response from a trade payable, then you would perform alternative audit procedures to gain comfort that the amount reflected in that trade payable in fact existed and this amount is genuine. So how you would do that? So you can do that by tracing the subsequent payment made to that trade payable. If say the amount is outstanding as on 31st March, then you can see the payments made in next year in 23-24. And you would also like to trace the transaction from the beginning till the end to gain a comfort, to gain assurance that this transaction, that purchase transactions out of which this balance has been created, this trade payable balance has been created, these transactions are in fact genuine. You would be gaining a comfort about it. Okay. So again, related party, if there are any related party payables, then you have to see whether these are properly authorized and value of such transactions are reasonable at arm's length. So again, students, not only for purchases, but also in case of sales also, related party transactions are important to see. Say like a company may indulge in related party transactions on account of purchases or on account of sales. So it may indulge in such transactions, and make purchases at higher prices just to uh, suppress its profits, or it may enter into transaction with related parties at higher sale prices to say overstated sales to show a better rosy picture. So therefore, as we have learnt in SA 550, it is duty of auditor to see that such transactions with related parties are carried at an arm's length price. So we have already discussed the meaning of arm's length price. Arm's length price means at a distance, like the distance of a arm, like like the say if the same transaction had been carried out with other third parties, how that company would have carried out that transaction. So if that transaction with related party has been carried out in same manner as it would have been done in case of third parties, then it is okay. If it is not done, then the auditor has to see what are the variations and what is its impact. Okay, so this is the basic point, students, you have to remember in a context of related party transactions. So whenever related party transactions come, you have to remember this basic point कि इसका basic meaning ये है. Review a trend line of purchases and accounts payable. So it is nothing but just comparison of purchases and trade receivables. So what you do, you make a sort of analysis. Ki, month wise, you make an analysis. What are the purchases? Month wise, you say what are the trade payables, and you try to figure out month wise relationship, say between purchases and trade receivables. And if there are some unusual trends, then obviously you get to find it from the management, you inquire it from the management. And what about completeness? Yes. So what was completeness? So all the balances which should have been recorded are in fact recorded. This is the meaning of completeness. So in simple terms, I say that nothing is left out. So for the purpose of remembering, you can remember it that way, nothing is left out. But students, आपको पेपर में नहीं लिखना कि nothing is left out. पेपर में आपको वही लिखना है कि that all the balances which were supposed to be recorded have been recorded, have been recognized in the financial statements. So that is the language of auditing. So I am simplifying it for your understanding. Okay. So what you will do to test the completeness of trade receivables, कि मेरा कुछ जो सारे creditors हैं, all the creditors, these have been recorded. So what I would do, I would say check goods received for the say last 5 days or last 10 days at the end of the year, to see whether the goods which have been received during these last 10 days or last 5 days, whether purchase invoices have been received in respect of the same. Okay. So if invoices, yes, students, am I audible to you? Yes, students, am I audible? So this goes on to prove about the completeness assertion of trade payables. Say, students, again I am repeating it. If you check, if you verify last, say, uh, detail of goods received in last 10 days of the closing month of, say, month of March, and you try to find out whether the goods which have been received, whether corresponding purchase invoices have also been received and entered in books of accounts. Isn't it a case that 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 goods have been received but purchases have not been reflected? Then which assertion would be affected? My completeness assertion would be hit in such a case. So in such a case, my completeness assertion would be hit because because goods have been received, but corresponding liability has not been created. Okay. And similarly, for the last 5 invoices, for the last purchase invoices, you have to also see that whether stocks have been received in respect of the same. So it is not only that, you have to see the reverse thing also. So test purchases expenses on a sample basis. So जनरल प्रोसीजर, कुछ आपने परचेज के जो है सैंपल इनवॉइस चेक कर लिए, जनरल प्रोसीजर. Match purchase invoices to get inward dates to check whether purchases are being recorded in the correct accounting period. So जो उसका इनवर्ड रिकॉर्ड है, गुड्स इनवर्ड रिकॉर्ड, उससे आपने परचेज को कोरिलेट किया. सो दीज आर अगेन जनरल प्रोसीजर. सो स्टूडेंट्स, ये थोड़े से नाम आपको अपनी वोकैबुलरी में परमानेंटली रख लेने हैं, जैसे गुड्स इनवर्ड रजिस्टर. ओके, सेल्स के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में हमने कहा कि से डिस्पैच रिकॉर्ड्स और ट्रांसपोर्ट रिकॉर्ड्स, ट्रांसपोर्ट बिल्टीज और ईवे बिल्स. तो थोड़े से अपना जो है अपने दिमाग में थोड़े से जो वर्ड्स हैं जो ऑडिटिंग के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में रेलिवेंट हैं, वो आपको दिमाग में बिठा लेने हैं पेपर में लिखने के लिए. सो यू हैव टू एस्टेब्लिश such kind of words in your mind. You have to remember, because in the exams you would be falling short of words to write. So if you remember such kind of words, you would write without much trouble. So again, if some advances have been received from customer, students, then these are reflected in the current liabilities. If advance has been received from a customer, but say sale bill has not yet been raised, the another party has given an advance, so it is a current liability. because corresponding revenue has still not been booked. Okay, so what is the nature of this advance? If number of advances are outstanding, then you can review their schedule. So these kind of things. And what other items are included in current liability, students? So current liabilities by their very nature, by their very definition, these are expected to be paid in a period of 12 months. Okay, so items like, say, wages payable, say TDS payable, say PF payable. These are all examples of current liabilities because these are expected to be paid within a period of 12 months. But like say in case of TDS, provision has been made in books of accounts for making a payment for the month of March. Obviously, these are going to be paid by the due date in the month of April as per provisions of Income Tax Act. So these are all examples of current liabilities. Or there could be GST payable. So how you are going to verify these things? Obviously, one important procedure could be to trace these entries in subsequent periods to see whether these have been paid, in fact paid or not. Say अगर आपकी बुक्स में स्टूडेंट्स TDS पेबल आ रहा है, that is say rupees 50,000, so you would see whether in the month of April it has been paid or not, and whether the provision made is correct or not. This you have also to see. Say determination of this amount of TDS payable, whether it is proper or not, whether at the rate at which this provision was required to be made, whether it is complete or whether some short provision has been made. So it may so happen that TDS was required to be paid on some item at the rate of 10%, but say provision has been made at the rate of 1%. So this is how you verify about various items of current liabilities. So again, students, these are general procedure written here. Again, meaning and fundamental, crux of that is same. Meaning and fundamental thing and the procedures of these procedures is the same. Okay. Yes, TDS returns can also be checked. That's also true. So trade payables have also to be valued appropriately. Now valuation assertion. So students, rights and obligation assertion is not there in your module. So why? Because it is implied here. So when you are verifying trade payables, obviously you are simultaneously also going through purchase transactions and um, and when you verify the purchase transactions, when you see that the company has in fact purchased those goods, then there is a corresponding obligation to pay the amount to the trade payable. Okay, so the obligation to pay the amount is reflected from the purchase invoice. or from any type of agreement which is there. Yes, students, is that clear? So valuation, trade payables and other liabilities have been valued properly. Valued properly means that the amount at which they are reflected in the balance sheet, it should be proper. So suppose some students old trade payables are outstanding. Like similarly in case of trade receivables, we had studied that some old trade receivables are outstanding. Then there the company had to make a provision for uh, doubtful trade receivables, or it may have to write off those trade receivables, because in case of trade receivables it was a loss for the company because the amount was not expected to be received. But now here in case of trade payables it is reverse. So if the trade payables are outstanding for a long period of time, then the company needs to write back its liability. It needs to be written back. So obviously these liabilities which are needed to be written back become income for the company. Okay, so if there are some old trade creditors, these need to be written back, whereas in case of trade receivables we were writing these off, but in case of trade payables we need to write them back. So remember this, that payables, these are written back. Use correct word. In case of trade receivables, this word is written off, while in case of trade payables, this word is written back. Okay. So how we can know, students, that some trade payable is outstanding for a longer period of time? So again, the same tried and tested method of aging schedule. Aging schedule, that you would obtain an aging schedule which shows the age of different trade creditors during the year. Okay, so from analysis of that aging schedule, you can arrive at which trade payables, which trade creditors are old outstandings, and which of these need to be written back. And check that restatement of foreign currency trade payable has been done in accordance with AS 11. So this is again common procedure. So students, in exam say, if you fail to remember, if you are asked to say write 4 points, but say if you fail to remember one more point and 3 points say you have already written, but 1 point you are stuck up with. You are pressing your mind, but you are not able to write that 1 point. So use this point. So you can write that if trade payables in foreign currency, to see that whether reinstatement is done in accordance with AS 11. ये कई जगह आपका फिट होगा स्टूडेंट्स. It would apply in many cases, like it is applicable in case of trade receivables, it is applicable in case of trade payables. In loans and advances also we have seen. So these are common points and these can be used. You have to remember these in such a way. Okay. Or students, as far as trade payables are concerned, in the balance sheet of a company, as per requirements of division 1 of schedule 3, you would see, so we see division 1 schedule 3 format of the balance sheet. So this is requirement of trade receivables. It is falling under the head of current liabilities. B point is trade payables, and what it is to be classified as? A, total outstanding dues of micro enterprises and small enterprises, and total outstanding dues of creditors other than micro enterprises and small enterprises. So students, now it has been made mandatory. Now it has been made compulsory for the companies to disclose their outstandings in respect of trade receivables, in respect of trade payables, by classifying them separately for outstandings in respect of micro and small enterprises and for enterprises other than micro and small enterprises. So this is a new thing as far as trade payables are concerned. Okay. Yes, guys, is that clear? So now a question would arise in your mind, students. What are micro and small enterprises? So students, you have to understand that this disclosure of trade payables of dues of the companies towards micro and small enterprises is in accordance with the spirit of MSMED Act 2006. That is Micro, Small and Medium Enterprise Development Act. So, students, as per this act, as per latest notifications issued under this act, a micro enterprise is an enterprise which is having investment in plant and machinery of not more than 1 crore and turnover of not more than 5 crores. So similarly, similar criteria are there for small enterprise and for medium enterprise also. For small enterprise, the criteria is investment in plant and machinery not more than 10 crores, and investment in and turnover not more than 50 crores. So these you do not need to remember. I am just trying to explain to you that what is the meaning of micro and small enterprise. So the Schedule 3 of Companies Act casts a duty upon the management, upon the company, to disclose separately dues relating to micro and small enterprises and dues relating to creditors other than micro and small enterprises. So jitne mere all the trade payable figure, this has to be divided, this has to be broken into two. One relating to trade payables pertaining to micro and small enterprises, and another relating to trade payables other than micro and small enterprises, which are not micro and small enterprises. So this is to be given on the face of balance sheet. This is to be given on the face of balance sheet as provided in Schedule 3. So students, I'll give you a little background of this MSME Act. So it basically contains provisions that payment to micro and small enterprises has to be made within a period of 15 days from the time the goods are accepted by the company, or if there is some sort of agreement between the company and that micro and small enterprise, then in accordance with the terms of that agreement, but this should also not be more than 45 days. So anyways, the payment has to be made in a period of not more than 45 days to these micro and small enterprises. If such payment is made beyond that period, then interest is payable. Then interest is payable by the company to these micro and small enterprises. So this is the background of the disclosure relating to trade payables, but relating to trade payables on account of micro and small enterprises. So these type of disclosures are required for micro and small enterprises. What are these disclosures? Whether the company has disclosed the following details relating to micro and small enterprises in the notes. Now, following things have to be disclosed for micro and small enterprises in the notes to the accounts. The principal amount and the interest due thereon remaining unpaid to any supplier at the end of each accounting year. So if there is any micro and small enterprise, if there is any creditor which is micro and small enterprise, then what is the principal amount and interest due thereon. Kyonki students, I have told you that if an enterprise is a micro or small enterprise and the company doesn't make the payment to micro and small enterprise within the stipulated time, then it has to pay interest. Okay. So the principal amount and interest due thereon. The amount of interest paid by buyer in terms, और कितना interest pay किया है. If the interest has been paid, the amount of interest paid by buyer. The amount of interest due and payable for the period of delay in making payment, which have been paid but beyond the appointed date during the year. So if some interest has been paid but it is beyond the appointed day, means the day at which the payment was to be made. micro enterprise or uh, to that small enterprise. Okay. So these are all disclosures relating to principal amount and interest. So what you students have to keep in mind regarding this disclosure is, number one, two important things you have never to lose sight of. These two important things are, number one, that if a company purchases some goods from micro and small enterprises, then it has to make payment to these micro and small enterprises in accordance with the framework, in accordance with the time framework. If payment is not made in accordance with that time framework, then interest becomes payable under MSMED Act 2006. And number three, the total trade payables have to be further classified into trade payables on account of micro and small enterprises and other trade payables. And number four, the company has to make certain disclosures regarding the principal amount and interest paid to micro and small enterprises in accordance with the requirement of Schedule 3 of Companies Act. So, students, you have to keep in mind these four basic things. So that is why I have given you a background of MSMED Act. You need not remember definition of micro enterprise, small enterprise. You just have to understand that what these things are. Okay. And also, students, while trade receivables are, trade payables are disclosed in accordance with Schedule 3 requirements, aging is to be given. Like in case of trade receivables, aging was there. So similarly, in case of trade payables, aging is also there. So how aging is to be done? Now here also MSME and non-MSME classification is there. Now this is the basic difference between aging schedule of trade receivables and aging schedule of trade payables. So you have to compare both the schedules in your mind while remembering. And there is also difference between the period. So when you would be seeing the aging schedule pertaining to trade receivables, there it was, I think it started with less than 6 months, but here it is less than 1 year. So check it up, guys. So we check it up what was in trade receivables for clarity. Yes. So agar aap students, if you see the aging schedule of trade receivables which we had done previously, so here it was less than 6 months. The aging was to be done less than 6 months, 6 to 1, 1 to 2, and 2 to 3. Now what is here? Now here it is not 6 months. Here it is less than 1 year. So these finer distinctive points, students, you have to remember. नहीं तो एग्जामिनेशन कंडीशन में अगर कोई एजिंग का क्वेश्चन आ जाता है तो यू विल फॉरगेट, यू विल गेट कंफ्यूज्ड कि 6 मंथ्स था, ये आप गलत लिख बैठेंगे, यू विल गिव द रॉन्ग आंसर. So less than 1 month, 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3 years, and more than 3 years. And this has to be done. This has to be broken into MSME and others. So what were dues pertaining to MSME? What were dues pertaining to others? And if there are disputed dues, then these have to be disclosed separately. Disputed dues pertaining to MSME and disputed dues pertaining to others. Okay. And other current liabilities, like some other items are given under the head other current liabilities, like interest accrued but not due on borrowings, or interest accrued and due on borrowings, or income received in advance, unpaid dividends, or application money, share application money which has been received but it has to be refunded back. So these all fall in other current liabilities, and these are to be disclosed in other current liabilities, and the auditor has to see whether the amount disclosed in the balance sheet is proper or not by following due procedures. Okay. Yes. So guys, we'll take a short break of 10 minutes and then we'll join again. So short break of 10 minutes. Yes, welcome back, guys. So, students, अब आपकी queries, will take some queries. So, yes, Harsh Grewal, yes, you are saying what is positive assertion? Oh, still stuck up on assertions, Harsh. So, assertions, as Harsh, you know, are representations by management. So, everything which you see in the balance sheet, which you see reflected in the balance sheet, is some is is a positive assertion in some kind. Say if machinery is appearing in the balance sheet, so it means that machinery is existing, or say the machinery is owned by the company. So it is an example of positive assertion. On the other hand, if the company states something negatively, say in the notes that there is no contingent liability in the financial statements, then it would be an example of negative assertion. Okay, so all the items which you see in the balance sheet, the auditor tests positive assertions about these to identify the material misstatements. Okay, so like sales are appearing, so the auditor tests the positive assertion whether the sales have in fact taken place. Okay, yes, Harsh, I hope it is clear to you. Yes, Yogesh Chaudhary, term loan closing within a year where it was shown under current asset or short term loan and advances. So, Yogesh Chaudhary, first point for you to understand that term loan by their very definition, by their very meaning, these are repayable in a period of more than 3 years. And how you are writing, it would be shown as current asset. Term loan, if the company has taken the term loan, then it would be liability for it. Yes, Devraj ji, you are saying you are retired from Grameen Bank. Okay, welcome, Devraj ji. No, Devraj ji, this NPA term is used in the context of banks. So when bank grants loan and the party doesn't pay the money, then we call it as non-performing asset. Then we call it as an NPA. Then the account turns into an NPA in accordance with the RBI prudential norms, which we would be reading, which you already know, but other students will be reading in chapter on bank audit in second module. Yes, Suman Goel, you are right. Yes, Ashok Kharyal. Please explain capital advances under loan advances. Yes, example of capital advances, say when advance is given for acquiring some capital asset, for acquiring some PPE item. So it would be nature of capital advance. No, Devraj ji, this, but in the context of companies, you do not use the term such as staff loan. This term staff loan is used by bankers, is used in the balance sheet of the banks. Uh, this term is used when the loans are granted by the bank to its staff. But in case of companies, it has to be separately stated as separate disclosure is to be given in respect of loans and advances in the nature of loans which are granted to directors or other key managerial persons, or the companies in which directors have interest, in which directors are, say, directors or directors are members? Yes, Suman Goel, you are asking, are these additional requirements of disclosures based on CARO 2020? So, Suman, and there are two questions which you have asked relating to CARO 2020. You have to understand, number one, CARO 2020 is an order which has been issued by the government, which states that auditor has to report on certain matters. Number one, it has nothing to do with the management. All the points which are there in CARO 2020, and for all the students who are not familiar with the name of CARO 2020 students, you would be reading about CARO 2020 in your chapter on chapter in second module, that is audit report. Here you would be reading about CARO 2020. It is nothing but a order, and full form of it is Companies Auditors Report Order. So it was issued in 2020. That is why it is known as CARO 2020. Earlier there was CARO 2016, and which was replaced by making certain amendments in it. So CARO 2020 became applicable sometime back. So what does it contain? It contains that on certain points, certain 20 to 25 points, the auditor has to give his report on these points specifically. Okay, like say in case of PPE, the CARO 2020 requires the company auditor to state whether the management has conducted physical verification of PPE items at reasonable intervals during the year. So similarly, such points are there in respect of inventories. Such points are there in respect of deposits. Such points are there in respect of loans and advances given. So because this order has been issued under Companies Act 2013, so these points are specific to companies. So somewhere during during this chapter, some references have been given to CARO 2020. Okay. Yes, Suman Goel, I hope it is clear to you. Yes, demand loans, you are writing correctly, students. Yes, Vandana, fixed deposits are repayable on demand. Yes, but here we are talking about loans given by the company, assets. So probably as far as bank is concerned, from customer's point of view, fixed deposits are repayable on demand. Yes, your understanding is correct. Yes, Avni, you are saying why such disclosures are required? Avni, these disclosures are specific requirements of law. These are contained in Schedule 3. Schedule 3 is a schedule forming part of Companies Act 2013. It contains certain specific requirements pertaining to presentation, classification, and disclosure of various items appearing in financial statements of a company. Now, this is part of the applicable reporting financial framework. in accordance with which a company has to prepare its balance sheet, in accordance with which a company has to prepare its financial statements. So that is why these disclosures are required. This is these are not self-made, or these are not self-made by ICAI. It is not so. These are law requirements. So at the beginning of chapter, I had explained to you that this chapter heavily dwells upon Companies Act 2013 and specific requirements of Schedule 3 of Companies Act. So that is why I had told you to go through Schedule 3, which I had uploaded and which is also there in your accountancy syllabus in Module 3. Yes, Ashok, you are writing, can the balances as trade payables be confirmed, or can we send? Yes, we'll be sending confirmation letters to trade payables as in case of trade receivables by employing direct confirmation procedures. Yes, Devraj, provisions and contingent liabilities we will be doing some other day, probably uh, probably on next lecture or thereafter. Yes, Suman Goel, yes, examination in depth is like trail, like finding a transaction from its source till end. Okay. Yes, same Manohar Yadav. Yes. Yes, Ashok, you are saying please explain restatement of foreign currency trade payables. So obviously say if you suppose Ashok, you have purchased some goods, you have imported some goods from a foreign country. Okay, so the amount of trade payables outstanding is in foreign currency. So you have to convert this amount at the closing exchange rate. Say you have purchased the goods on 1st March. So on that date, exchange rate was different. You have purchased goods of $10,000. At that date, exchange rate was different. So you have booked those amount according to those things. But now the valuation as at reporting date has to be done in accordance with AS 11. Yes. Yes, Himanshu, you are saying enterprise has to pay interest in late payment to MSME. Yes. MSME to MSME also pay interest. Yes. Say the point is the MSME Act states that if you purchase any goods from MSME, so obviously it would apply. Yes, Devraj, this is government sponsor loan case. No, you are Devraj, you are thinking in terms of banking alone. Yes, Srinivasan, application money received for allotment. So if the money has become refundable, if the company has received application money which has become refundable in accordance with the provisions of Act and it has to be paid back, then obviously it would be shown as a liability. It would be shown as a current liability because the company is required to pay the money as soon as possible in accordance with the terms of in accordance with the requirements of Companies Act 2013. Yes. Rito Banerjee, yes, you are saying for other assertion except disclosure, it is enough to read 4 or 5 procedures. Yes, Rito, it would be a correct approach. So, what I would advise you while studying this chapter is, first of all, you give a complete reading to this chapter. At least one reading, you give a complete reading. Each line you read of this chapter. But when you give second reading, then you remember main 4 or 5 audit procedures. So in your exams, the question maximum marks, the question is coming of 4 marks. So obviously, in any case, you are asked not to write more than 4 or 5 procedures. और इससे ज्यादा हैं भी नहीं students. So remember 4 or 5 main audit procedures like direct confirmation, like one procedure relating to completeness, like one procedure relating to aging report. So दिमाग में क्या रखना है, ट्रेड रिसीवेबल आते ही दिमाग में if it is in your mind valuation, then it should click in your mind aging. Similarly, as soon as trade payable comes, if valuation is there, in your mind it should come aging. If classification is coming, then in your mind it should come classification into dues into MSME, dues to micro and small enterprises, and dues to other than micro and small enterprises. And aging, what is the difference between aging schedule of trade receivable and aging schedule of trade payables, or aging schedule of loans and advances? Okay, so these things. So it would be sufficient. But my advice, my request to all of you to at least read each and every line of this chapter when you are reading it for the first time. When you are reading it for the first time. But when you make second reading or third reading, then you jot down main four procedures and disclosure requirements. That would be enough. अगर आप इतना याद रख पाते हैं, if you are able to remember this, then it would be sufficient. Yes, and Anmol, you are writing, should we have to learn additional disclosures also? Yes, disclosures, whether these are additional regulatory information or whether it is written directly, you have to learn. Yes. Yes, Gondhi Morgan, you are writing example for interest accrued but not due on borrowings. Yes. Good question. Yes. Morgan. So, students, say you have taken some loan, you have taken borrowings, the company has borrowed some money. Obviously, it would have to pay interest on that money. So, interest, as soon as the company has borrowed the money, interest accrues. So in accordance with the accrual system, in accordance with the matching system, so you have to recognize the interest because it has accrued. Say if you have taken loan at the beginning of the period, that interest on the same borrowing on the same loan has accrued. It pertains to that year. Okay, so that is the meaning of accrued. And not due on borrowing, say part of the interest which has accrued, this not may have become due as per the terms of agreement with the lender. say interest for a year 22-23 has accrued, but say part of it, some amount of it as per loan agreement with the banker is due in the month of April, where the company is to pay the money half yearly, say in case of some loan, and that loan is payable, that interest is payable, sorry, in the month of April. So that is the meaning of interest accrued but not due, which has accrued but it is not due for payment. Its time has not come. Yes, Murugan, is this clear to you? Yes, capital advance, Abhijit, I have already given example. Advance, say, for acquisition of a PP item, because PP item is a capital asset. Yes, Rahul Sharma, you are asking how to write answer to these questions based on this chapter. Yes, we will discuss, Rahul. Today we are going to discuss. Yes, Suman Goel, yes, you are writing, can we learn by heart 4 or 5 disclosure of each balance sheet item? Yes, disclosures, Suman, I would ask you, you have to learn all disclosures. So when you are remembering disclosures, you get to know what are significant things. So obviously in exams at intermediate level, uh, no such no such deep diving is expected from students. So at least once go through all disclosures and remember the main things, and then you develop an ability in yourself to judge the things also. Yes, Anmol Patwa, aging report you are saying falls in valuation as well in disclosure. Aging report, Anmol Patwa, as far as procedures are concerned, the auditor has to verify aging schedule, aging report to see whether there are any old trade payables, or in case of trade receivables, whether there are any old trade payables, and specific format that in case of trade receivables, how it is to be disclosed, less than 6 months, 6 months to 1 year, 1 to 2, and similarly in case of trade payable, MSME, non-MSME, disputed MSME, less than 1 year, 1 to 2 years, 2 to 3, more than 3. These are requirements specific to law. Okay, so therefore it is coming under both the things, under disclosure and under procedures also. Yes. Yes, students. So now let us try to do some descriptive questions. So who was there? Rahul, yes. Rahul Sharma was asking how to write answers to questions based on this chapter. So students, I have uploaded an assignment. Now say the question comes like this: 3 marks. Say students, these type of questions would be coming in your exams. Not you have to write pages. No. C exam is not of that type. You have got specific questions and you have to write specific answers. The answers would be most likely to all answers, these would be finished in 1 page. And many answers you would be able to write only 1 para or 2 para. That's all, half page only. Okay. So like an item of PPE, that qualifies for recognition of an asset should be measured at its cost. Now, which elements comprise cost of a PP item? So obviously this question straight away relates to AS10. So you have to write that any item which is in a sense a property, plant and equipment item that qualifies for recognition of a PPE item, it should be measured at its cost. The following are elements of cost. The three elements which are written in your module, like cost price, cost of purchase price, and duties composed in it. So all these three elements which you can write here. So second question is how you would verify existence of intangible assets appearing in financial statements of company. So basic thing you have not to forget, students, while doing various assertions, while doing how to verify various items, you have not to lose sight of fundamental aspects, fundamental concepts. Like, students, you are doing about intangible assets. Okay, so how you are going to verify intangible assets? Like, you would, because intangible assets do not have a physical existence. So obviously you cannot write that I checked the process of its physical verification. No, that is not the case. So obviously you would be writing to see, like whether that intangible asset is still in existence. When the auditor would check, say, in case of software, whether such software is being used, still being used, or the software is being used by the company to render its services. So these things would help the auditor in establishing existence of intangible assets. So जब आप स्टूडेंट्स डिफरेंट आइटम्स कर रहे हैं तो उसको एक मेन, हर एक प्रोसीजर में कुछ मेन वर्ड्स हैं, लाइक अनमोल यू आर राइटिंग इन एक्टिव यूज और नॉट, यस, आपको ये वाला वर्ड जो है दिमाग में रखना है. सो यू हैव टू रिमेंबर दिस वर्ड इन योर माइंड फॉर राइटिंग इन योर एग्जाम. सो इफ यू राइट दिस वर्ड, that whether the auditor has to perform procedures to see that whether the intangible asset is still in active use or not. So you would be given full credit and you can expand on that, write one more line. Yes, Rito, you are also correct, verifying whether it is used. So suppose if this question carries 3 marks, so obviously you would write that auditor would see whether these items are still in active use, and you also give an example. Or write one more point. So these kind of things. Now, the inventories appearing in financial statements of a company are material. Okay. Verifying that, yes, Rahul Sharma, are the things getting clearer to you? It was your question. So we have already uploaded questions for your reference and understanding. Yes, Rahul, please tell me whether things are getting clear to you. The inventories appearing in financial statements of a company are material. Now discuss few analytical procedures to be performed by auditor to test completeness assertion relating to inventories. अब स्टूडेंट्स आपको देखना है कि and question, what the question is asking about. ऑडिटिंग में स्टूडेंट सबसे ज्यादा मिस्टेक्स जो स्टूडेंट्स करते हैं वो इस बारे में करते हैं कि जो क्वेश्चन पूछ रहा है वो उससे कुछ अलग लिख देते हैं उसका आंसर. दैट मैनी स्टूडेंट्स राइट आंसर्स which is different from what is required in the question. So students are not able to grasp that what is expected from the question, that what answer is to be stated in the question. So for that, simple cross and zero. Okay, so therefore after the result comes, तो स्टूडेंट से मैंने तो ठीक लिखा था, बिल्कुल मॉड्यूल में से लिखा था, आई हैड रिटन व्हाट वाज देयर इन द मॉड्यूल, बट स्टिल मेरे मार्क्स नहीं आए, बिकॉज यू हैड नॉट रिटन व्हाट वाज एक्सपेक्टेड फ्रॉम यू. You did not understand the requirements of the question. So that is very important, students. You have to understand the requirements of the question clearly. Like in this question, the question is asking from you to write few analytical procedures to test the completeness assertion. तो आपको analytical procedures लिखने हैं स्टूडेंट्स, और कोई procedures नहीं लिखने. अगर आप इसमें और कोई प्रोसीजर्स लिख देते हैं जैसे कि सपोज फिजिकल टेस्ट काउंटिंग, तो वो एनालिटिकल प्रोसीजर नहीं है. सो एनालिटिकल प्रोसीजर्स बाय देयर डेफिनेशन, these are procedures which evaluate financial information by establishing relationships between the financial data and non-financial data. So obviously the auditor would perform ratio analysis, like we had discussed about inventory turnover ratios. Okay, he would calculate inventory turnover ratio, he would see trends, he would perform trend analysis. He would compare it with the previous year stock holdings. So these kind of procedures have to be written, as these would help out the auditor in testing about the completeness assertion of inventories, whether all inventories which were required to be recorded have been recorded or not. Okay. Yes, Suman Goel, you are right. Inventory turnover ratio, trend analysis, these. Yes, many students are saying that video is stucking. Yes, please check whether the audio video is proper. Yes, guys, am I audible? Now, is the video proper? Are you able to see me? So there can be some connectivity problems at your end also, guys. Yes. So narrate few audit procedures to be performed by auditor for testing completeness assertion of trade receivables of a company. Yes. Narrate few audit procedures to be performed by auditor for testing completeness assertions. No, Swati, it is not necessary to write that you are performing procedures in accordance with SA 520. You can write it generally. It is not necessary to state so. Even if you state so, then it is not incorrect. But you need not state so. You can write generally also. If you state, it is okay. If you do not state, even then it is okay. So narrate few audit procedures to be performed by auditor for testing completeness assertion of trade receivables of a company. Now, how the auditor would test that trade receivables are complete or not? Yes, completeness assertion of trade receivables. That he would see that, say, all the goods which have been dispatched, foremost requirement is that all goods at the end of the period, at the near the reporting period, near the end of the reporting period, say he will check dispatch report and of say last 5 7 days, and he would see that all the goods which have been dispatched, the corresponding invoices have been raised. So it would help him in ascertaining, in gaining comfort that all the trade receivables which should have been recorded have been recorded. No, Himanshu, in third question, it can't be checking vouchers. So this is the problem, na? The question is writing you to, the question is asking you to write analytical procedures, and you are saying to check vouchers. Now, checking vouchers is not a analytical procedure. Yes, Suman, you are right. Yes. Dispatch log, Anmol Patwa. Yes, you are right. So these kind of things. So आपको students ध्यान में रखना है कि क्वेश्चन क्या पूछ रहा है. तो आपको जो भी आप रेलिवेंट पॉइंट लिखेंगे उसका आपको फुल क्रेडिट मिलेगा. जो पॉइंट रेलिवेंट नहीं होगा उसका आपको 0 क्रेडिट मिलेगा. नाउ 5, explain disclosure requirements of schedule 3 division 1 regarding cash and cash equivalents. Yes. Yes, so here in such type of question, because it is, say this question carries 4 marks. Suppose this question carries 4 marks, then you have to state that as per schedule 3, following disclosures are to be given in respect of cash and cash equivalents, like cash on hand, check on hand, okay, balance with banks, and further requirements relating to like if there are some repatriation restrictions, so these kind of things, or if the bank balance is having more than term term deposits which are having more than 12 months maturity, so these kind of things you have to write. So for that you have to be specific. So अगर आप अगर इस क्वेश्चन के 4 मार्क्स हैं, आप सारी डिस्क्लोजर रिक्वायरमेंट लिख देते हैं, सो यू वुड बी गेटिंग 4 आउट ऑफ 4. यस. So that is how specific questions are asked. The questions asked in the examination are very specific, and these need a specific answer. Okay. So yes, students, have you got some idea? Have you got little idea of how answers are to be tackled as far as this chapter is concerned? So now we also try to do some correct incorrect types. Yes. Number one. Yes, correct, incorrect types. Reviewing aging report of trade receivables assists auditor in gaining comfort about valuation assertion pertaining to trade receivables. Now you have to tell whether this statement is correct or incorrect along with reason. Yes, Rohan, for 3 marks question, if it is not a specific law question, then 3 points would be sufficient. However, if it is a specific law question, then you have to write all the points. Then the marking scheme may be such to divide 3 marks. Say there are some 6 marks in the which are required to be stated, which are required to be disclosed as per law. Then the marking scheme may decide about that for these points 2 marks are to be given, for these point 1 mark is to be given. Okay. Reviewing aging report of trade receivables assists auditor in gaining comfort about valuation assertion as pertaining to trade receivables. Yes, is this correct or not? Yes. All of you have given right answer. This statement is correct. Because it is because of the aging report, by reviewing aging report, that auditor comes to know that whether the trade receivables are properly valued or not, whether proper provision has been made in respect of doubtful debts or not. So this is correct. So yes, great guys, great. All of you have given correctly. No, Rahul, you are stating that it is related to disclosure assertion. Yes, although it is also related to presentation and disclosure, but it is giving comfort. What is the question asking? Question is asking that it assists auditor in gaining comfort about valuation assertion. So whether it is helpful to the auditor in gaining comfort about valuation assertion or not, yes, it helps him to see that trade receivables are valued, that their value is proper, that uh, proper allowance for doubtful debts has been made or not. Yes. Now second point, second question. Primary responsibility for physical verification of PPE items lies with the auditor of the company. Now, whether this is correct or incorrect? Yes. Primary responsibility for physical verification of PPE item lies with the auditor of the company. Yes, it is incorrect. So this point, student, I had harped upon many times in previous lectures also. That primary responsibility of physical verification lies with the management, lies with the company. The question is asking about primary responsibility. Primary, what is the meaning of primary? In Hindi, yes. What is the meaning of primary? It is शुरुआती, आरंभिक, मेन, कि पहले किसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है. यस, अनमोल, आप गलत लिख रहे हैं. Although physical verification process may be attended by the auditor, whose responsibility is to do it at the first place. It is the company's responsibility, Anmol. You have to understand. So it is the responsibility of the company. Yes, most of you have given the right answer. Yes, Anmol, now you understand प्राथमिक. So अनमोल, अगर कोई इंग्लिश वर्ड आपको अंडरस्टैंड करने में प्रॉब्लम आती है, तो कीप ए गुड डिक्शनरी विद यू, एज राजीव सर हैड एडवाइज यू. कीप ए गुड डिक्शनरी विद यू, इंग्लिश टू हिंदी और इंग्लिश टू इंग्लिश. So if you are not certain, or if your level of English is not good, then obviously you need to translate the words. If you are writing the exam in English medium, so if you are writing the exam in Hindi medium, then it is another matter. Obviously, then you have to write the whole paper in Hindi, and there are many difficult words in Hindi, rather more difficult than in English. In English, you can understand those terms, but in Hindi, it would be even difficult for you to write those terms. Yes. Balances held by a company in its current account are not reflected under the head cash and cash equivalents. Yes. कितने सिंपल क्वेश्चंस है स्टूडेंट्स, हाउ सिंपल दीज आर, जस्ट स्मूथ, जस्ट एक सिंपल केक वॉक, वेरी सिंपल क्वेश्चंस. यस. So balances held by a company in its current account are not reflected under the head. So this is patently wrong. This is incorrect. These are reflected. जो करंट अकाउंट में कंपनी का बैलेंस है वो कहां आएगा, वो तो कैश और कैश इक्विवेलेंट्स में आएगा. So in the balance sheet of company, in accordance with the schedule 3 requirements, we do not write cash and bank balances. We write cash and cash equivalents. It means that under this head, those items are classified, those items are presented which are readily convertible into cash, which are liquid, which are as good as cash. Okay. Yes, fourth, a significantly higher inventory turnover ratio may help auditor in revealing obsolete inventory. Yes. A significant higher inventory turnover ratio may help auditor in revealing obsolete inventory. If the inventory turnover ratio of a company is high, then what does it mean for auditor? The question is simply asking you whether it is correct or incorrect. If the inventory turnover ratio is high, whether it would help the auditor in finding obsolete stocks. Yes. Students, slightly थोड़ा सा tricky question है. It is a little bit tricky. Yes. Yes, guys, waiting for your response. A significantly higher turnover ratio helps the auditor in revealing obsolete inventory. Yes. So students, many of you, or rather I would say most of you, have given the wrong answer. Only Suman Goel has given the correct answer. स्टूडेंट्स यू हैव टू रीड बिटवीन द लाइंस, आपको क्वेश्चन ध्यान से समझना है. इन्वेंट्री टर्नओवर रेशियो, सो पहले आप इन्वेंट्री टर्नओवर रेशियो का क्या मतलब है? Like Rahul is saying that please explain it with the example, so I explain. So inventory turnover ratio means it is calculated by cost of goods sold upon average inventory. So if cost of goods sold is say 50 lakhs and average inventory is say 5 lakhs, then inventory turnover ratio is 10 lakhs. Sorry, 10, not 10 lakhs, it is 10. Okay. So I had told you that we can also calculating it by number of days. So inventory turnover ratio in number of days comes to 36 days. So what does this mean? This means that companies' stocks are being rotated very fast in 1 month. So if the inventory turnover ratio is quite high, it is more than the industry average, or if it is significantly high, as explained, as reflected in this example, that whatever the company is purchasing, it is being sold within a period of 36 days. So this is the meaning of this ratio. So inventory ratio of 10 is quite high. आप स्टॉक 1 मार्च को परचेज कर रहे हैं और आपका से 7 अप्रैल तक वो बिक रहा है. सो इन्वेंट्री टर्नओवर रेशियो इज क्वाइट हाई. फास्ट क्विक सेल्स आर टेकिंग प्लेस. सो इफ इन्वेंट्री टर्नओवर रेशियो इज हाई, देन इट शोज दैट फास्ट सेल्स, उससे ऑब्सोलीट स्टॉक थोड़ा पता चलेगा. ए लो रेशियो ऑन द अदर हैंड, a significantly low ratio helps the auditor in revealing obsolete inventory. अगर यहां पे लो होता तो ये स्टेटमेंट करेक्ट होती. नाउ इट इज इनकरेक्ट. Okay students, so you got to understand the concept of inventory turnover ratio and high and low, how it impacts. Yes, Rohan, you have given the correct answer. That's fine. Congrats. So you have to understand it clearly that if there is high turnover ratio, it means that sales are taking place at a quick pace. Stocks are being sold as these are purchased. However, if the ratio is significantly low, then it means that old stocks are there, old stocks may be there, sales are not taking place at a fast pace. Yes. Fifth, internally generated goodwill is recognized as an intangible asset in accordance with the requirements of AS 26. It is incorrect. It is not recognized. AS 26 clearly states that internally generated goodwill is not to be recognized as an intangible asset. This you have studied in requirements of AS 26, and we have also studied this in this module. Yes, Himanshu, you are saying in 4 we have to order more stocks. Yes, it means that stocks are being consumed at a fast pace. Stocks are selling like hotcakes. So therefore, in consequence, we will be ordering more stock. So students, these were some of the questions which we have taken up today. So I sincerely hope, students, that these questions have helped you in increasing your understanding. So you have to adopt these kind of methods, these kind of tricks, these kind of tips uh, to come out of examination with good marks. I hope that you have found it useful. So do give your feedback, whether your understanding is increased or not, and read your module. You please, my request to you students is, please read your module at least one time. Read every line, do not leave anything. Okay, so that's all for today, students. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot. Yes, yes, I ask. Over.